we didn't start thinking about the tool itself. We start thinking about AI in the middle, and we start building everything around it, which is different from what we've seen today in current tools. Like, current tools, they got a Copilot. They start plugging Copilot in, and they do something with AI in a workflow that they got in place for years. They've been there for years. They can't really change the tool entirely, because it's impossible. What they can do is plug in an AI kind of Copilot here and there. They can do something, but the real value you can give now to clients is if you have your AI here at the core and you start building things around it, and the workflow is not the tool, the workflow is within AI itself.
Hi, Christian. Welcome to the Digital Construction Podcast.
Hello. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for having me here.
Today, we are joined by Christian Pallaria, Digital Transformation Leader at AECOM and founder of WisyPlan. We are going to explore how data, AI, and human-centered strategies are reshaping how complex capital projects are delivered. But before we start, Christian, I have an icebreaker for you. What belief about leadership did you have early in your career that you later realized was wrong?
I think, this is a good question. And it reminds me when I started working when I was like a kid, and I was looking at my boss, and I say, one day I'll be like him, like boss style, do this, do that. And then over time, I just realized that it wasn't the right approach. At least it's not anymore now, and it depends on many factors. There are cultural things. There are generational changes as well. So you need to understand what's the best approach in the right moment. There is definitely sometimes the bossy style is still needed, but I would say that the safe environment when everyone can express ideas and join the real challenge of what you're doing, having the same vision and working together for the same I would say outcome, for the same solution, and above all with the same passion. That's the thing that makes a lot of difference. And I would say this is the wrong belief was thinking that the bossy style was the good one, and it's definitely completely the opposite now for me. At least when I deal with my team, at least in WisyPlan, it's we're gonna talk about that later. But this is the environment that I'd like to set up with the right culture, with people having fun doing something and working together and fighting together to achieve the final goal, which is solving problem and making people happy.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things I always find interesting is to ask people about their career journey, because you start as an engineer, then working more in the digital space, and then funding WisyPlan. But for those who are less familiar, can you tell us a bit about your career journey and how did you end up on the digital side of engineering and construction?
Yeah. I think the connecting the dots of everything is being passionate about technology. That's always been there with me from uni. When I was at uni, I founded a company. It was called CFA Studio, and we were doing 3D simulation and 3D like renderings or 3D videos using particular software that are now not a kind of commodity, and they are not even so used anymore. So we were supporting these big construction company to show the product, because before it was done, and I founded this with a mate there, and was great. We had a couple of years very good. Then we failed in 2008 because of the real estate big crunch. We were working with real estate. That was our core business. And in retrospect, I would say we weren't able to pivoting to other things. We were kind of introducing 3D prototyping, 3D printing in the real estate, and that was working. But at some point, they didn't have money to invest anymore, and our decision was just to close the company before it was too late. So that was the first experience with technology, even before finishing uni. Then I finished uni and started working, and I started traveling all over the world. And particularly in Lima, I introduced BIM technology in a project there for a metro line stations. It was 2010. And from there, always passionate about technology, I created a software to calculate the station evacuation time following an international standard, which is still used by my old company. And I was proud of that. And then I started playing with computational design tools like Dynamo and Revit. And then I just entered into this particular space. And parallelly, I was passionate about project management, which is, I think, the connection with what we do in a WisyPlan. So I got my certification at PMI, so the PMP certification, and I started doing project management along with my career in digital. But then it was 5 years ago when I moved to Australia, when I just joined the full digital delivery. So I forgot everything about the design, let's say. Still passionate, but my focus was only into digital tools and how to develop tools that can speed up processes internally into enterprises, which is what I'm doing now in my current role at AECOM. And my passion about project management and technology made me thinking about WisyPlan, and I came out with this in my journey.
And looking back, which career moments most accelerated your shift into digital leadership? Is there a specific moment you can?
Oh yeah. Yes, definitely. I think when I moved to Australia, I started dealing with massive projects, and that was the big shift, let's say, because until that moment, I was dealing with big projects, but let's say 10, 15, 20 people working around that, and I shift from that to 50, which was a big difference. And I was lucky. I had a very good team, and we were able to deliver a very great product. But that was the big shift, I believe, when you're starting dealing with not only a few models, but you deal with everything from GIS to BIM models to drawing to metadata population. Here in Australia, there is a very high level of requirement about metadata and the workflow, the right BIM workflow, complying with the ISO. So, it was a very big shift, and that helped me a lot to not only reading and study things on books, but also applying that in the real life, in a real project. And there was a massive experience. It was great.
And you worked on these large projects, and what did you learn from these mega projects about the real problems that the leaders face?
Oh, yeah. Coordination first. It's very hard. Above all, if you have a team that is spread across the world. In particular, in my experience, I had a team that was partially here in Australia, China, India, South Africa, Europe, even, and and the difficulty that comes out with different time zones, different cultures, and coordination is the key point, right? And coordination within your team for digital and within the entire team with the other disciplines, because in the end, you are creating something that has to be a support for all the other disciplines. So you need to coordinate this with the project manager, with a structural engineer, with a geotechnical engineer, with the road guy. So it's a big thing. So that's the massive problem, that if you don't do that properly, you start losing pieces here and there, and the pieces are fragmented. So they are the second point. I'd say everything's fragmented. So you got a software to do something, you got another one to do something else, you got all the stuff spread out in different places, and above all most of these are unstructured data, which is the key point of WisyPlan. Like it's easy to understand a data that is structured in a Power BI platform. You can do your graph, You can understand it very quickly and easy. But when you have a lot of these unstructured data, it comes to be a problem. You're going to spend a lot of time doing that. So that's, I would say, the big problem that we are facing in big projects.
And as a part of your job, you probably end up telling people to introduce digital ways of working. And one of the challenges, I think, is how do you earn trust with the people you work with? So, yeah, how do you do that?
I tell you a story. When I moved here and I started this mega project in here, I was impressed because it was like at the beginning, it was like they didn't care about digital. No? Everyone was like, I'm focused on my structure. I'm focused on my road design. I'm focused on my bridge design. I don't want to deal with digital. Why? I'm focused on my calculation. And for me at the beginning, it was like, have these guys read the specification, the requirement from the client? Because I mean, this is a deliverable. We can't just go there and say, oh, we don't deliver the model. And so at the beginning, the approach was very soft. So I was just let them talk, And I remember that I was talking with my manager, and I told him, look, I just let them talk. I can't start fighting because I did in the past in my previous company, and that didn't work. And then I say, I need to find another way, another approach. And the approach was try to explain them the why, which was, first of all, the client is requiring it. But that wasn't really helpful at least at the beginning. And it was when the client came back, above all in the middle of the project, asking for that. And I start mentioning, look, I sent an email that day, I sent another email that day requiring this, and that. And they understood that maybe, there was something in the background that I was doing. And so we sit down and we start talking about that. I start explaining the why we were doing that. It was not only because the client is requiring it. We're doing this because there are other things that we can do with these models afterwards. So when the project will be delivered, this model will be useful for maintenance, will be useful for a lot of other things like digital twins. All the things that we are talking about now, and it's pretty normal and everyone knows. At the time, they were like, what are you talking about? No? So when I mentioned we could even do a bill of quantities, they were like, no, we like our Excel. No? And we ended up testing it, doing our bill of quantities in our model. And we ended up even populating metadata for sustainability. So, when you start having this kind of conversation and you touch the point of the why and people understand why, they may start thinking differently and start saying, okay, right, cool, this is cool. So let's do a POC. Let's see how it works. And so let's say the way to introduce this is like the strategy is to talk with their language. If they don't understand this, you don't have to be technical. Otherwise, they will not understand you. So if you're talking with a project managers, talk about numbers. If you're talking with a very specialist, talk about what's the benefit that this thing can give you if you do in the proper way. So that helped me a lot in this particular journey.
Yeah, communication transparency is really key. But sometimes you find a digital solution that works and you try to scale it to enterprise level on a big project, and we sometimes still see that these digital programs may fail. But from your point of view, where do you see digital programs fails even when the technology itself looks good?
Yeah. I would say that maybe the big points is that like the high expertise required sometimes for specific tools, because they are difficult to be used. Technology is there. Technology is good, and it really solves problem for construction. There is a lot of tools that are doing great things, but many times it happens that you need a specialized guy, specialized person to use that specific tool. And if you don't have it, you need to find it in the market, and maybe it costs. So it's very complicated because what I've been seeing till now is people not being able to use specific tools. And so your role, and our, in particular myself now, is my mission is, let's make it easier for everyone. No? And if it's not possible for everyone, for most of them, because if you create something that is too difficult, it will become an elite tool. And even if it solves a problem, the adoption will be difficult. So I'd say yes, that even if the technology itself is sound, maybe we need also to think about how difficult, how the learning curve process is, and planning properly the introduction of specific tools within a company, considering the learning curve and the learning process.
Yeah, talking about difficulties and their parts, like you working on projects that are different countries, in different geographies, multiple cultures. What's the hardest part of leading this digital change across multiple regions and cultures?
Yeah. Look, I have been working in construction all around the world since I started in 2010. The first experience was Lima, I mentioned before, when I introduced the beam technology in my previous company. And in every single experience, whether it was South America, whether it was Europe, whether it was Turkey or Russia or here Australia, the main difficulty is to try to homogenize something for every region. That's just impossible. You just you can't do that, right? If you want to create something that will work for everyone, it's just a big challenge, and you will never get there, because every single region has got specific requirement from clients. They need a specific tool that can do exactly what they need to do for that particular client. Even within a region, you may have different clients and different requirements by client. So sometimes the tool has to be by client or by project, even not by country or by region. So there is a lot of difficulties into this, but by experience, I'd say if you are able to create a core, robust product that can solve at least 70-80% of all the problem in every country, and then you just fill the gap of the 20% with a specific custom tool for that region, you get it. You definitely can get something from the region. Otherwise, everyone will just push it back because you're giving them something that is not really solving their problem. So that's my experience, again, all around the world. It's not just an Australian thing. It's not just an experience that I had here in Australia or in the last years. It's a thing that I have been seeing since I started my career in this space.
And you worked in corporate, in large companies like AECOM, but at some point you must have identified some specific gap that led you to found WisyPlan. So can you share with us what specific frustration or gap led you to start this journey?
Yeah. Okay. Let's say, first of all, just to reconnect with the last thing I said is across my career, all around the world, I have been seeing this problem always in every project. So frustration, fragmented data, unstructured data that is everywhere, and people needs time to look into that. But what really made me thinking about these and focusing a lot about these was the day I was in at school, my son's school. There was a school band's concert, and they performed really well. And finally, there was a big applause, and my son's friend started crying, and I just didn't realize why. No, it was a great success, and it just was because his dad wasn't there, and I know his dad. He's working in another company, construction company, and he's the project manager. So I just drop a message and say, "What happens? I mean, you're not here. Why?" And he told me, "Look, I'm stuck in my office looking for one single information that I don't know where it is. I've been looking into emails, into contracts, RFI, MOM. I really can't find it." And it is not a joke, because the project is valued millions. So where you're dealing with millions, you can't really say, okay, I stop it. I need to go to my son's concert band. So that thing made me reflect a lot, because I start saying this. I mean, this thing shouldn't happen. If you got a family, you should be there with your son and watching his concert, his first concert. Now that's a big thing. You're gonna remember that for your life. And so I started thinking about that, and I started saying AI can solve this easily. Now, if you start building something that connects all the dots, you can solve the problem. And so I started creating a very quick POC, and then we ended up now with a product that is great. I love it. But again, I don't love the product, because what I really love is what I told you before. I love hearing people coming back home earlier and staying with their family, or just going to the beach, whatever you do. I mean, you're young, you don't have family, you just go to the beach, enjoy your life with friends, whatever. But that's the thing, that's my passion. And every time I go to sleep every day, and every time I wake up every day, I'm thinking about that. And what we're building is something that solves that problem very well. And again, it's a agentic AI ecosystem which connects all the dots together and grab all the information from every single source, creating a unique source of truth as a big knowledge of the project, and can give you insights, can give you answer when you have any question, or can pop up warnings even if you don't have a question. So it's reactive, it's not passive. And that's great. So yeah, we started with this kind of frustration, and we are creating something.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's about giving time back to people. So why do you think that giving leaders time back is such a powerful value proposition in the market?
Yeah, for that reason, as I said before, I believe people deserve it, and we're not creating a tool. We started thinking how we can change the way of working, and what's the tool that can do that. So we didn't start how the project manager today does this and that. Yes, but then we said, but what if he started doing this and that based on a tool that can really solve that problem for him or her? And above all, we didn't start thinking about the tool itself. We start thinking about AI in the middle, and we start building everything around it, which is different from what we've seen today in current tools. Like, current tools, they got Copilot. They start plugging Copilot in, and they do something with AI in a workflow that they got in place for years. They've been there for years. They can't really change the tool entirely, because it's impossible. What they can do is plugging in an AI kind of Copilot here and there. They can do something, but the real value you can give now to clients is if you have your AI here at the core and you start building things around it, and the workflow is not the tool, the workflow is within AI itself. It's pretty complex to think, but if you think about an ecosystem, if you think about it's an artificial group of people, the interaction you can have within them is just great. Is exactly what happened in normal life. You're just making it artificially, and then your tool can be built around that based on that particular core.
Yeah, it's interesting because now we'll see new products and new tools emerge that are like WisyPlan will be AI native, so they are structured around AI, and they will probably produce a more natural way of communicating with software solutions, where previously, as you said, like it was the human being that needed to adjust to the software with the interface, and now probably with AI, we have a huge opportunity in this market to create products that are actually designed for humans a lot more than they used to be before.
Yeah.
What made you decide that this problem needed a new company and not just an internal initiative?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, what I realized over time and is that, I mean, in large company you can improve tools, you can improve workflows, you can create even kind of internal, let's say, standards, that everyone can use and adopt. But when the problem requires an alignment across clients, contractors, consultants, multiple platforms, it becomes bigger. No, it's a bigger problem. It's not just an internal thing. It can't be in one organization only. So in my whole career across different projects and geographies, as I mentioned before, like South America, Turkey, Europe, Australia, Asia. Um, I have been seeing these now, the same patterns, the same issues, and fragmentation of data, decision latency. So to take a decision, you need to go through multiple documents, read them. Maybe you spend like hours, and then after a couple of days, you come in a meeting and you take a decision. But that's maybe too late. And so at some point, it became kind of clear to me that uh, it was not about improving an internal company system. It was an industry thing. It was an industry, let's say, gap. And if the problem sits, let's say, across the market and across the whole industry, I think the solution has to sit in the market itself. It can't sit in a one organization only. So I started thinking about that, and nothing. I realized that there was a need of a new company, and here we are.
Yeah, and we want to watch this space to see how your project evolves. There is a lot of many buzzwords around the AI and this agentic system. But can you demystify this for us a little bit more? Like, what does decision intelligence, for example, really mean in the construction context?
Yeah. Okay, decision intelligence. As I said before, if you think about recreating a team artificially, if you think about connecting all these dots together, you just turn the fragmented project data into actionable insights, because you are receiving insights in real time. You don't have to spend 2 days to understand where that information in multiple documents and then meet. You can meet in 30 minutes after having had a conversation with our Wisy. And that's the first thing. Then I'd say I feel we need to move from reported what's happened to reporting what will happen. So we need to be able now to think at the future and not just about what is happening now and what happened yesterday, trying to recover stuff. No, instead of recovering, we should start thinking about preventing things to happen, and we help with that. And then connecting again all dots, like connecting costs, schedules, risks, RFI, MMM, everything. Connecting all the knowledge of a project that should be sitting in the project manager brain, but we are human beings, so we can't really keep up with everything, and sometimes we just forget things, and we're not confident because at some point you have a lot of things, and if you also put on top of it all your family stuff, kids, you get crazy. And when someone comes to you and asks something, usually you say, oh, I think this is the answer, but let me just think about that. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. And maybe tomorrow is too late, when you can say, yeah, I think this is the answer. Give me 30 minutes. I'll come back to you soon. That's it. And you take a decision on time, avoiding all that latency and avoiding all that risk, which is median in construction. That can become millions in if you turn that into money. So ultimately, I'd say, if you want to, what we want to give is like this kind of confidence to project managers, but also to executives, to run projects on time, within the budget, and preventing problems rather than solving.
So yeah, it's about trust, I guess, but where previously was about controlling the projects.
Yes, exactly. This is our slogan, let's say, giving back time and giving you your trust, your truth.
Yeah, that's great. And where should leader be cautious when they try to use AI into the project environment?
Uh, yeah, this is a good question. I would say, I mean, yeah, AI can help a lot, but we need to understand how to use it because otherwise it may be dangerous. You can't really rely on it straight away. And that's why we believe we're gonna um, create something that can support project manager, not replace them. So I'd say when you're using AI, try to be cautious in avoid to deploy AI without clear governance. Let's say you need to be aware of what you're doing. Be aware about the tools you are kind of deploying, what they do, what their limitation, what's the power, but also the limits. Exactly. If you want to do an analogy, we can talk about Beam. A lot of power, but there's also the cons, and the cons, you need to be aware of that. So when you try to adopt that software, you need to be aware that if you got the skill set to do that, you will be fast. Otherwise, you will not. And the same thing is analogically here. You need to be aware that AI can solve some problems, but you need to be able to handle that. And then avoid black box output. If there is no traceability and source data. And this is a thing that I really care about. Like in WisyPlan, what we're doing is for each insights we give, there is a connection and about the data, where the data is coming from. So a citation of the documents in the page. So you can control it. The second thing is the hallucination. When we talk about AI, hallucination is the main term. We definitely want to avoid it. We in all our tests we are avoiding that until now 100%. We prefer much more AI saying I don't know, I don't have that knowledge, rather than saying something that is kind of interpretation. And we solving that problem. That's very important for us. So again, avoiding to adopt tools that are not taking care about these two main important things. There's tool that at the end it states, "Oh, AI is not safe. Be careful." Okay, that's okay, but be aware of what that tool does and how that tool gives you answer. And then I'd say cultural things. Like when you talk about change management and you introduce something, there is also a cultural things that has to be considered, and just do not ignore it, because I have been seeing here these in like WisyPlan, talking with multiple stakeholders coming from different part of the world, and they all have different ideas, they all have different requirements. They care about, like, there is someone that is caring about more about security, someone else that is maybe yes but not at that level. Even if security is the main thing, let's say that security is the most important thing at this stage when we use AI, but someone is more focused maybe on email, others in contracts, others in drawings. So there is a lot of cultural thing that has to be considered as well when you start introducing new tools based on AI in your company, and that's part of the that's an executive decision. You just can't say, I will introduce AI. There's a new tool. Let's do that. You need to carefully consider all these pieces and try to put them together, and above all, planning the introduction of the new technology.
Yeah, and I'd like to slightly change gear and focus on the challenges that we see in the construction industry. Sometimes people talk about the fact that data is fragmented, or people have misaligned incentives, or about the way we structure our culture, or the skill leadership. There is lots of things going on that could be improved. But from your point of view, what do you see as the biggest systemic challenges in the construction industry today?
Yeah, this is a broad question. Like we need to differentiate a bit. Like if it is a construction site, there's some challenges. If it is a consultancy project, it's another. There are other challenges. If it is a work sharing, there are others. So I would say maybe, okay, the main pattern already, it's the fragmented data. Data is everywhere and everyone uses different sources. So in this big project, you may have someone using ProjectWise, but then you have got ACC. That's another tool that everyone uses because Autodesk is based on that. But then you got also Bentley. And so if in this big project you start having 12D, Bentley, and Autodesk, you start having multi-platforms, and all this data is just scattered. So this is a big challenge. And I know there is a lot of companies that are trying to solve that problem as well, like creating unifying metadata in a unique source of truth. And this is, I would say, one of the biggest pain. The second is the adoption and reconnecting to before. If you don't have the right people, you can buy the software. You can buy also the best software that can unify all the sources from everywhere. But if that software is difficult to be used, difficult to be set up, you need to consider that thing. And that's another big challenge. Usually, many of these software are complex. Now they are too sophisticated. And sometimes you got a very powerful thing, but in reality, you're not going to use that properly in the right way that can help you. And so sometimes it may happen that it would be a failure. Now you just have the software there, but you don't use that as it could. And I'd say this is a big, big challenge that you're facing above all in construction. And I'd say mostly on site, because while on the side of consultancy, you got people that maybe are used to technology. On site, there's the opposite thing. And you need maybe to instruct people and educate them to use technology. So that's another big challenge. But I honestly believe if we start focusing on making things simple, this big friction in adoption will become easier, and we'll be able to deploy tools to construction sector easily.
And thinking about the future, where do you see I know it's hard to predict the future, nobody really can. But I guess, what's your best guess? Like, how do you see the digital construction space evolving over the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Wow. I think the big change, it could be robotics, because now AI is here. And there will be like thousands and thousands of tools that will come and will solve problems, and that's pretty clear. So I'd say in the short term, definitely AI will become the commodity. It's already, but in a few years there will be a lot of tools that will use that. But robotics, it's coming. There'll be a different process to make it happening in construction, but that can solve a lot of problem about security and safety. If you can replace someone with a robot and can be controlled by a human, that's safer. And when it comes to safety, I think it's important to consider that. And again, robotics is still not happening now, but I got the feeling that that's the second step after AI.
Yeah, coupling AI with robotics will be an incredible change for society, not just the construction industry. And what do you think? Go on.
No, I was just thinking, and I believe construction usually comes almost as the last industry to be affected. So that's the reason why I think maybe the robots will come first in our home and then in construction sector. But we will see. It may be different. You never know, because I believe this. Joining AI with robotics will be a big change, and it could, if a constructor will see the benefit, it may be the opposite. You may have these robots going around sites before they are in our home. We don't know.
Yeah, I remember many years ago watching demonstrations of how robots could go inside a building and try to save people during a fire. we're not trying to replace firefighters, but that's a very dangerous job to do. So if we could send a robot, so try to avoid risking one human life to save another human life with the risk of losing two lives, then will be a massive improvement. Yeah, hopefully AI can help us with that.
Yeah. But look, I mean, just because I love technology, so I'm just trying to connect the dots as well on these. And I remember that when I was in Italy, I was at university doing a lesson there, and we're talking about digital twin. And firefighting was one of my idea was, what if we can have a digital twin and the firefighters can see the building before they come there, so they can plan how to react based on how the fire is spreading out inside the building. So, and that was helpful for humans. But imagine if a robot, without even having to use, too many AI capability, but during the travel from the station to the building, can plan exactly what to do. That's it. So you got digital twin connected with robotics, connected with AI. If we start reading, seeing all this as an holistic thing, that makes sense. It's the why I was talking about before starting making sense. They are not spreading out, but they are all connected.
Yeah, the future is certainly exciting. And when you think about AI is today used to make different decisions. But what do you think? What type of role do you think AI will play in general in the future when it comes down to making decisions? Because there is also this problem related to trust. How can AI help us?
Yeah, I think monitoring costs, schedule, risk, giving warnings, having the option to create scenarios with multiple options that you can analyze and compare before committing capital. But everything has to be traceable. So every recommendation has to be traceable based on real data. So the risk is the wrong tool can give you wrong answer, and you're gonna make it worse. But if you're able to use that properly with the proper tool with traceable data, which is what we're doing in WisyPlan, you can definitely deliver these particular things that can help you in decision making with confidence above all, which is the main thing.
And we're close to the end, but just one more question. If you were starting again today as a young engineer, thinking about a young Christian, what would you focus on building first?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing for me is understanding what's happening, understanding the business. So don't look at the technology, just forget it. Okay, put the technology aside. Look at the business, look at the problem, not at the solution. The solution will come, technology will help. But if you're able to focus on the problems and you understand how the business works and behave, you will be successful, and you will find a way to create something cool. Maybe another thing, don't think in like silos, think in a broader way. So think about all the disciplines, all the industries. Maybe you're targeting construction, but maybe construction is related to fintech. Construction is related to safety, to other things that maybe are not your real core business. But if you think in silos, you will just look at that. If you start looking at outside, you will connect everything together and you will be able to create something cool. But the main thing, I believe, being humble is the first, and learn it all. So I take this from Satya Nadella because I love him, and I love the many interview that he did. And in one in particular, he said, "Don't be the learn it all, the know it all, but be the learn it all. Because what you know, you already know it. You don't have to tell others that you know it. That's it. But what you don't know, you have to learn. And so just focus your mindset into learning something that you don't know to become better and better over time."
Yes, great. So Thanks, Christian. We are at the end of the episode. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Oh, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty reactive, so looking forward to that. In particular, honestly, I hope I could transmit my passion about the problem we are trying to solve at WisyPlan. We are looking for implementing the team. So if you think that you can help with everything, with your expertise, even if you don't need to be a developer, because there is a lot to do here. This is a multidisciplinary project. So if you love this, if you're passionate, and if you think that this is a real problem, and you, above all, if you love it, you put your heart, reach out to me. I think you're going to have fun.
That's great. Christian, thanks for sharing such clear and grounded insights today with us. Thanks for joining us on the Digital Construction Podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for having me. It was a big pleasure.